Okay, so now you have 1,000 ideas for videos, or, maybe hundreds, maybe dozens. I don't want to put too much pressure on you. How do you keep track of them all? And how do you keep track of which ones you actually want to invest time in developing versus, which ones either need improvement or just shouldn't be done? And then how do you keep track of which ones have moved down the pipeline of video production? Which ones have gone on to scripting or outlining? Which ones have you shot video for? Which ones have you shot talking head video and B-roll for, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Well, there are lots of ways that you can tackle this, all the way from pen and paper to software applications, but we're going to make the case for a piece of free software out there known as Trello. It's a web-based software application. It also has an app, iPhone, and other platforms, and it's one that we have consistently used to keep track of our video ideas from inception all the way to publication. So let's go from zero, that is from going to Trello.com and actually creating an account, to setting up the framework for keeping track of video ideas from ideation all the way to production. So here I am on Trello.com, and we're going to go ahead and sign up. Now, in our case, we have a dedicated Gmail email address for our website, for our project, Where Research Begins. And so I'm going to go ahead and do this via Google. All right. It seems to remember us. And there we have it. Now we are in. So let's name our workspace. And this is actually our workspace. So I'm going to go ahead and call it Where Research Begins. Okay, try Trello Premium for 30 days. Nope, I don't think I need that. We can talk about what these upgrades get you, but for this tutorial, we're going to be dealing entirely with the free version. So I'm going to go ahead and skip that. There's a little dog. Great, nice work. Thank you, dog. And now we're in. Okay, so as with every single website these days, it has this sort of education and onboarding process. And by all means, I do think that this is valuable. It's going to lead you through, we've already created the workspace, adding boards, inviting teammates, connecting apps. Now, these are things that they give you a few of, and then they want you to upgrade, and then automations. And automations is an upgrade feature. So let's not really worry about that right now. What we want to do is go ahead and go to the first workspace that we have, Where Research Begins. So let's go ahead and create a new board. They do give you some templates here, and by all means you can explore, but I'm going to go ahead and create a new board, and the board title will be Video Production Sequence. There are any number of things that we could call it, but let's go ahead and do that. Create board. Okay, so now we have our fancy background there. I could change that background if I wanted. Not going to worry about it right now. What you see here are these various sort of, let's think of them as sequential steps along a pathway from the beginning of your process to the completion of your process. In our case, it's coming up with video ideas, deciding which of those video ideas to actually start producing, all the way through publishing your video and perhaps promoting your video or doing other things with it. So this first period here, they've pre-populated this with to do, doing, done, which makes sense. I'm going to go ahead and say, video ideas, and maybe I'll just be a little bit facetious here, dumping ground. I really want myself, I want Chris to have any and all ideas for the channel. They can be, so this doesn't have to be polished, or doesn't have to be, the ideas don't have to be good. And then let's go ahead and say, let's call this, maybe let's give ourselves a little bit of leeway. Maybe we can call this long list, and then the next one, short list. Now, you don't necessarily have to funnel or winnow in this way. Maybe you want to go directly from a big dumping ground of ideas, and that's your long list of potential ideas. And then the short list being, where do you really want to concentrate your attention? So actually, for the sake of this tutorial, let's skip the step of long list and just say short list, and then maybe the next one will be outlining or like outlining, scripting, to give space for those of you who like one or the other. Okay, now we have these various stages here, these lists, and we can go ahead and create more, and we will, but we'll do that in a second. The key element, or the sort of unit of ideation or ideas within Trello, is the card. So here you have the blue button, Add Card. So when I do that, I could have just also started typing. Let's say I have an idea for where research begins. That would be, maybe a video would be cool. Ideas for second books, you know, how to come up with them, how to know which are worth your time. I don't know, something like that. Okay, that's just an idea. That's just an idea. And then we could add another card, and maybe another card would be, well, there's a conference in both Chris's and my academic universe that has a conference coming up in Hawaii. So maybe it would be a video all about how to avoid the shitty hotel restaurant suggestions for the, I believe it's the AAS, I can't remember if it's AAS or AAH, conference in Hawaii. I don't know, whatever. And then what I would want to do is just boom, 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 add card idea, 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 idea. Now, before we get into what you can do with these cards, let's say that I have a big long list of video ideas. And by big long list, I mean dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens. Do not let yourself off the hook when it comes to developing ideas. You saw Chris's video about where ideas come from, and he was really emphasized that you should place no limitation on how you keep track of ideas or the ideas you have. So now you have this big dumping ground of potential ideas. And let's say, yeah, you know, I had a conversation with someone the other day and I broached this idea of I should do a video on good lunch places so that you don't go to the same, you know, the same shitty conference lunch across the street from the conference hotel every time, but that you actually enjoy some good food. Okay, so that means I'm going to shortlist this. So all I have to do is click, hold, and drag this puppy, since there was that puppy that welcomed me, I'll call it a puppy, this card over to the shortlist. And what you see is that it has now moved it down the production cycle. So now what I have basically said, or what your teammate has said, once I invite Chris to this and he starts adding video ideas and he starts deciding, let's shortlist this, or maybe we discuss it, then we have moved a subset of these video ideas to the shortlist idea. And let's say I've got a bunch of others, and I do also want to move the second book thing from one to the other. So now I've got 100 dumping ground ideas and just 2 shortlisted for now. And so Chris and I talk, or maybe I just decide, if this were my own channel and I'm not conversing with anyone, I decide, okay, I'm going to start the process of really outlining and scripting things. So now I've moved this into the stage of outlining and scripting. So I'm going to do research. I'm going to go on social media and I'm going to ask my friends for restaurant suggestions. I'm going to go and read reviews of restaurants around the conference hotel, whatever it is. And I'm going to take notes. Now, the very cool thing is that if you want to, and you don't have to, you can take notes within the context of Trello. I would probably not do this. I would probably take my notes in any number of other software. I love Scrivener, but I use anything that's in front of me. I'm extremely promiscuous when it comes to note-taking. But you can go ahead and double-click on it, and voila, you have all of these functionalities. Now, this is the free version, mind you. You can add more detailed description about this, so you could actually start taking your notes. You or your collaborator could make comments on this, attach images, at people in your group if you want to flag them, blah, blah, blah. You can also add checklists, dates, attachments, all of these other things. And then, of course, there are all of these other varieties that do require a paid subscription. But at this point, you really, really don't need it to, have what you would want, let's say. So I can add anything I want to this note if I would like to do all of my editing and thinking within Trello. And I know many people that do. Okay, so now comes the later stages of the production process. And I'm not going to go into all of them because, we don't need to. And in fact, in the course materials, I'm going to show you what a mock-up of one of these board sequences would look like that then you can reproduce or customize. But maybe the next one is, shoot a roll. So shoot the talking head video if that's what, your model is for your channel. And so, okay, let's say I feel like my Hawaii restaurant conference video idea is well scripted. It's ready to press record. I can then move this over. Oh, let me just go ahead and do that. I can now move this card over there. And so now I know, or a collaborator will know, Tom has moved this video onto the shooting stage. So now Tom is somewhere on this planet shooting the A-roll footage for this. And then there could be B-roll, there could be interviews, there could be other things in your sequence. But you will always know and be able to keep track of where every one of your ideas is in this workflow, and your collaborators, if you have any, will as well. Okay, so the last thing I want to show you before we talk about the homework for this session is a functionality that enables you to send emails to your board. That is, to create cards by sending an email to a dedicated email address within Trello. Let me show you how to do that. So if you're in your board itself, you have to be inside a board because these email addresses are board specific. What you want to do is go over to Show Menu, and then in Menu on the right side, click on More. And then here you have Email to Board Settings. And when you click on this, I will fuzz this out so that no one can see it. But here I have a super duper long, alphanumeric email address that is dedicated just to this board. And you can generate a new email address, whatever, and then you can copy this address, add it to your account, add it to your, your contact list on your phone. And here you can email this address and it will automatically add cards to your Trello board, which is pretty awesome. So your homework for this tutorial is to create a Trello board. Log in, create your own account, and then set up your list structure based upon what you imagine your workflow being for your channel. If you're going to have a lot of B-roll, or if you're going to have overhead shots, screenshots, and interviews, you're going to want to build your list structure in a way that is right for you. I will provide a kind of rough sketch, a rough template of some of the sequences that you can imagine, but it's really up to you to come up with one. And I would like you to turn on, or at least identify, what your board email address is and start using that functionality to populate your board with video ideas when you are out and about. So your homework is to really get your workflow when it comes to video production sequencing in place. See you in the next tutorial.